Och vi fortsätter på det medicinska spåret, men nu ska vi byta språk och fortsätta på engelska. This presentation will be held in English, and I would like to welcome Dignitana and CEO William Cronin. So please tell us more about your company and investment case.
Great, thank you very much. Again, on behalf of the Dignitana employees, both here and in Sweden, it's always a pleasure to tell our story, especially to the Axis Piranha group. So we thank you very much for the opportunity to present today. Dignitana, we are traded on the First Growth Exchange in Stockholm and have been since 2011. Our market capitalization as of Friday is roughly 470 million SEK. The company is headquartered in Lund. The vast majority of our operations, however, are done here in the United States in Dallas, Texas. Our product is the Dignitana Scalp Cooling system, which has been cleared here in the United States by the FDA since late 2015. Our product, the Dignitana Scalp Cooling system, minimizes hair loss typically associated with many chemotherapy regimens and helps improve a patient's overall quality of life during this very difficult period of time. We have a very solid long-term shareholder structure anchored by the ADMA organization, who have been tremendous partners for us for the last several years. A number of their representatives are both board members, and again, we lean very heavily on them for their expertise. Additionally, we recently completed a capital raise at the beginning of this year that added 4 very prominent Swedish shareholders to our cap table, who are now our 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 7th largest shareholders. The revenue development for the company is something we're very, very proud of. Obviously, the healthcare industry was hit very hard by the pandemic. However, we were still able to grow our revenues year over year last year, and then in fact just posted a 16% year over year increase for Q1 21. This is, again, a really tremendous accomplishment, and really because of both the quality of our product, the demand for scalp cooling increasing, as well as awareness and the quality of our team members, again, both here and overseas. We had some very significant key ratios at the end of 2020. Our revenues continue to increase year over year, total revenues, net profit. The loss continues to decrease. And we ended the year with a significant, at the end of the quarter, first quarter, with a significant cash balance that's really going to help us grow our business and make the investments that we require to take advantage of this tremendous revenue opportunity that we have. What do we do? The Dignitana Scalp Cooling system helps patients undergoing chemotherapy to get through this very difficult period of their life with a little more privacy, identity, and control. The individual on the left is what a typical cancer patient will look like after just 2 rounds of chemotherapy, where they face a near certainty of hair loss with many of the regimens associated with our patient demographic. But they don't have to look that way, actually. The patient on the right, the photo was taken roughly 6 weeks after her 6th and final round of TCH. This actually happens to be my wife. And this is really how I ended up being involved both with this therapy, this important therapy option, and this company. This is a very personal and very meaningful opportunity to really help patients during this very difficult period of their time, of their life. There's very strong consumer interest in scalp cooling. In almost every instance, hair loss is ranked as the most distressing side effect of chemotherapy. 28% of patients rank this, again, as the most distressing side effect, which is really an amazing number when you consider the severity of some of the other side effects associated with chemotherapy: nausea, fatigue, damaged internal organs. It still is consistently ranked as the most distressing side effect. In fact, 8 to 10% of female patients will forego chemotherapy altogether for fear of hair loss. Prior to coming to market, the company did a significant market survey, and roughly 96% of patients, potential cancer patients, were very interested or somewhat interested in keeping the hair during chemotherapy if this was an option. How does scalp cooling work? The mechanism of action is really rather simple. By hypothermically reducing a patient's scalp temperature to a specific targeted range, what we do is induce 2 physiological conditions. The first, vasoconstriction constricts the blood vessel, shrinks the blood vessel in the scalpel areas so that free flow of chemo agents to the hair follicle is impeded. Secondarily, we slow metabolic processes. And what this means is normal cellular activity is slowed so that any chemo agents that do reach the hair follicle don't get absorbed. So again, the mechanism of action behind this is really rather simple. The science behind it is knowing how to get that patient's scalp temperature to that targeted level and then maintain it for as long as necessary. Dignitana has been a leader in scalp cooling since it was first brought to market all the way back in the late 1990s. And what's interesting here is the opportunity was first explored by a Swedish oncology nurse, Yvonne Olofsson, as an actual oncology nurse, saw how difficult and traumatic hair loss was for her patients and actually created the first device, the C2 device that you see on the left side next to Yvonne. That product then was replaced by the C3 device, and then ultimately in the summer of 2019, the FDA cleared our latest product, the Delta. The Delta device is singularly the biggest advantage to the next way that scalp cooling is done today. Again, it was cleared during the summer of 2019. It is a single patient unit. The US is still our largest market, and in many of the facilities that we have here, you have single patient, either infusion bays or rooms. The previous device chilled two patients, could chill two patients simultaneously. This is a single patient unit. It's much smaller and more applicable to more of the treatment facilities here in the United States. The product itself uses an incredibly reliable thermoelectric cooling technology versus either competing devices or our legacy devices, compressor-driven technology. What that means is it's incredibly reliable, 99% plus uptime. Also, what we really did with this device was redesign the entire scalp cooling process from the caregiver or the nurse's perspective. What we knew that had to happen with this iteration was we had to reduce the amount of nursing intervention, which we've done on a per infusion or per patient infusion basis by up to 80%. Additionally, for scalp cooling to work, the therapy option, you start cooling the patient's scalp 30 minutes prior to the first hair loss causing drug. That lines up well with the pre-med regimen that most patients are given. You cool the patient's scalp during the duration of their infusion, and then for some period of time after the infusion is complete, roughly 1 to 3 hours. And in many high volume, high throughput facilities, that incremental chair time can pose a problem. So we added a battery to the device. And what it enables our facilities to do in periods of high demand is actually move the patient out of the infusion room. And that has been a tremendous competitive advantage for us since we brought the product to market. Additionally, now each patient is given their own set of consumables, and it's on the slide there, both the wrap that attaches to the patient's head and actually provides the heat transference mechanism, as well as an outer cap. And what that has really provided during this COVID period is tremendous reduction in infections. There's a very large addressable market for scalp cooling, both here in the United States and overseas as well. Globally, there's roughly 17 million new incidences of cancer on an annualized basis. Of those, roughly 12 million are solid tumors. And then breaking it down even further, the number of compatible chemo regimens. Scalp cooling doesn't work for all chemo regimens, but many or most it is actually applicable for. So globally, there's 7 million potential chemo regimens that are applicable to scalp cooling. Here in the United States, the numbers are a little bit different, roughly 1.9 million incidences annualized, of which 1.3 million represent solid tumors. And then from those, 779,000 are applicable for scalp cooling. In the summer of 2017, we were able to expand the indication from simply female breast to all solid tumor cancers, which presents a much larger opportunity set for the company. We have a very large presence here in the United States. We're in 34 states. We have roughly 350 devices placed in 223 locations. We have put a very big emphasis in growing our presence with large multi-site integrated delivery networks or community oncology practices. We've also established partnerships with a number of the group purchasing organizations. And what these very large multi-site operators represent for us is a significant growth opportunity with both facilities and organizations that we've already established multi-site contracts for. So the US installations, I like to show this slide simply because what it shows is the significant growth of installations with the Delta device. Since it was brought to market, its dramatically easier use and better patient outcomes has allowed us to dramatically accelerate the pace of unit deployments. Previously, we had placed just over 200 C3 devices on the market here in the US in 3.5 years. We've actually been able to place just under 350 devices in a little less than a year and 8 months. So really the demand for the new product is accelerating and due to its increased ease of usage. So what are our revenue drivers here in the United States? We lease the device to facilities, then we also charge the patient a fee for the consumables that they acquire, the cap and other disposables, and then roughly $300 US per treatment. This is a very interesting model. I want to just take you through very quickly just to show how quickly a device can return its upfront cost and investment. So with low utilization rates, which we would define as 10% usage or roughly 2 treatments a month, then medium utilization rates, 30% utilization or 6 treatments a month, and then high or 50% utilization. So the beauty of this model is at medium utilization, simply 6 treatments per month, we're going to pay for each device's installation in roughly 6 months. And after that 6-month period, you're able to generate significant operating leverage per device. We have an expanding global presence through either direct sales efforts across Europe, UK, or through a set of very qualified distributors around the world. Scalp cooling is also growing and being recognized further as a standard of care. Both the European Society for Medical Oncology as well as Cancer Australia have recently updated their guidelines to include scalp cooling as standard of care. And then here in the United States, the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, NCCN, has a 2-way designation for scalp cooling as standard of care for both breast and ovarian patients. So as scalp cooling continues to be recognized globally as standard of care for either all solid tumor cancers or subsets thereof, awareness and usage continues to increase. The most important development, however, for the growth of the scalp cooling market has been the assignment of 2 CPT codes, current procedural terminology codes, that will become effective as of July 1. So scalp cooling to date has primarily almost exclusively been a patient pay out-of-pocket expense. This now enables a facility to begin billing a patient's insurance provider. And what that will do now is make scalp cooling just like virtually any other therapy option that the facility is already providing. Again, so if you take the expense of the burden directly off the patient and then allow their insurance provider to actually pay for the cost of this therapy option, that will have a dramatic impact on usage as well, and willingness and desire of the facility to offer those patients scalp cooling. Because right now, for the providers, minus any avenue to actually obtain reimbursement from the patient's insurance provider, they're actually providing this at their own expense almost, where the nursing time allocated, the incremental chair time, is not billable. And in many instances, that is a significant hurdle for the healthcare provider to get over. So one thing I want to make note of is these codes, the CPT codes, are category 3. What that means is they will not immediately carry an actual number from the insurance providers in order to pay back. So it's going to be a process. It is the beginning of a process that we anticipate will take between 6 and 12 months to really begin bearing fruit. But the process of actually, again, enabling reimbursement was started here, and we're really looking forward to this as a significant catalyst to growth here in the United States. And I included this slide simply to show the complexity of the reimbursement journey here in the United States. We have a very different healthcare structure than most of Europe actually employs, where we have individual payers, and quite a few of them actually. So the process of ultimately obtaining reimbursement through all of these players has a lot of different layers and nuances that all have to be solved for. So again, what I want to be very clear about is July 1, everything does change, but it won't be a big bang effort. There will be a period of adjustment. There will be a period of education. There will be periods of negotiation with a number of these providers that are involved along the chain. And again, what this slide is an attempt to show is the very long and kind of difficult process through which payments are actually processed and claims are adjusted. So we look forward to working with a number of other industry professionals, as well as consultancy partners and internally, to really work through this process to ensure as many patients are ultimately able to take advantage of this therapy option through the reimbursed process that is just going to be initiated July 1. So summary, again, we have a tremendous opportunity to grow with our existing customer base. As I pointed out previously, we have a significant number of master site agreements already executed with very large delivery networks that are offering cancer treatment services and infusions across their network of facilities in the United States. We're in 34 of the 50 states, and those 34 represent the greatest concentration of our population. 70% of all incidences of cancer in the United States occur within a 150-mile radius of the 25 largest urban centers. That's where we focus our efforts. That's where we focus our opportunities. As the market continues to mature, we very well expect to be in all 50 states. And what we want to ensure is every patient that has the opportunity to use this therapy option is given that opportunity. Not that everyone has to choose it. We know, again, from the amounts of surveys and information we've gathered from the marketplace, that this is a therapy option that people will choose. We just have to do some additional work to make sure it's available to all. And then as the reimbursement process works through, then again, as many people as wish to have this therapy option available to them will. We have a significant new business pipeline, increasing US locations. And we're also looking to selectively expand our distributor network. We've tried to be really thoroughly focused on the US market here. That is the quickest driver of growth and ultimately profitability for this company. So we really try to focus our attention and our efforts on the market with the greatest payback opportunity for us. But as we do that, we also have significant opportunities around the world that we're exploring. We've signed some great deals through a few of our distributors with large private insurers in markets such as the UK and Australia. And we're looking now to take this great product that really provides superior patient outcomes and make it available through select markets and really high quality distributors that we've identified in the marketplace. Again, the opportunity with reimbursement that presents itself as of July 1 is our single biggest pathway to growth and ultimately profitability. So we are expending significant efforts to make sure we're well prepared once that day comes, and then to do all the work required over the coming quarters and years actually to ensure payment is received for all patient reimbursement claims. Our business is built even over the course of the last year, where COVID-19 has presented huge challenges for us, capping with that 16% quarter-over-quarter growth Q1 to Q1 of 2020. So we're very proud of that. And as the pandemic clears over here, we look for the opportunities to begin to increase even more rapidly. And finally, as we anticipate our profitability to come to based on the number of devices that we have out in the marketplace, those devices continue to grow, and ultimately that profitability will be attained in the not too distant future. So again, thank you all very much. I appreciate the opportunity on behalf of the company to present here at Accispirana, and I think now it's time for the questions.
Thank you so much for joining us from the US.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask you, why is this a good opportunity for you now at this very moment to present to these investors?
Well, it's really, as I mentioned several times during the presentation, when the CPT codes become effective July 1, that will be the single biggest driver for growth that the scalp cooling market here in the United States has seen. Additionally, we're going on almost 2 years since the Delta device was cleared by the FDA. So we were able to get the device installed in a significant number of locations. We've been able to collect a meaningful amount of patient data. And what we hoped for and anticipated with this new device was that, again, it would be dramatically simpler to use and that it would provide superior patient outcomes versus its predecessor. And both of those have been achieved in a really great way. So finally, with COVID really receding here in the United States, things beginning to open, we think that this is really the best time for our company, and it has been since I've been involved with it all the way back to 2015.
Yeah, so where are we now with the COVID situation from your perspective? I mean, do you see troubles continuing?
It's certainly not gone by any stretch. However, the number of cases, the number of deaths continue to decline on a daily basis. I watch the numbers every single day. Travel is increasing. Summer is here. With the Memorial Day weekend past, they really are continuing to decline. I think, we're at fewer than roughly 25,000 new cases per day off of highs of almost 400,000 all the way back to January and February. The number of individuals having been vaccinated continues to climb. So yes, this is now beginning to be in our rearview mirror. We are getting over the real difficulties that this presented. More of our sites are allowing us into their facilities. Travel is increasing. So yeah, we are really starting to get a handle on it here.
But if we should try and look on some positive side of this situation, because you were talking about these patient exclusive caps, does it raise awareness about infections and so on? That might mean, it's a positive thing that you can offer caps that are for each patient and not transferred between patients.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the focus on infection control in the healthcare industry, has increased exponentially since the pandemic began. So, in fact, this is the cap. It is a wrap that is issued to each patient, and the way it works is it is able to be molded directly to each patient's head. And what that does, again, is supply a superior patient outcome. What we're trying to do is remove heat from the patient's scalp. And the most efficient way to do that is with a cap that fits directly to the scalp. The secondary benefit of each patient being given their own that they leave from the facility with so that it is not transferred from patient to patient, was obviously something that we had considered while we were in the development process. But then the pandemic brought the advantages of that single patient cap and the lack of passing infections from patient to patient dramatically to the fore. So even though the pandemic is declining at this point, those advantages and the necessity to minimize infectious risk will always be elevated at this point going forward. So again, that cap provides tremendous advantages from both an outcome and infection control that our sites and our patients will be able to take advantage of, for a very long time.
And as you pointed out, I mean, only a small fraction of these patients are offered this treatment today. But I still want to talk a bit about the competition landscape. I have actually interviewed another company here at Accispirana, Paxman, that also does scalp cooling. So what is the landscape and what's your position in it?
Sure. There are only two competitors in the industry right now, ourselves and Paxman. And the Paxman group we consider to be tremendous competitors. They're a very innovative company. They're wonderful marketers. And the fact that there are two of us here in the United States right now, or even globally for that matter, we are the only two mechanical scalp cooling companies available worldwide. So it is a good competition. We know them obviously quite well. And, I think it's great for consumers, for patients, right?
So it sounds like there could be room for both of you.
Absolutely. There's tremendous, the upside opportunity here in the United States. I think between both Paxman and ourselves right now, there are devices in fewer than 20% of the cancer treatment facilities in the United States.
And speaking a little broader internationally, your agreement with Genesis Care was expanded to the US in March. So how big a progress was this for you?
That was huge, yeah. The distributor network that I spoke about previously, Aurora Bioscience is our distributor in Australia. They've been a tremendous partner to Dignitana for over 10 years now. And via our relationship with Aurora and Genesis, we were able to get the original deal in Australia signed back early in this year, and then expanding into the US is huge. Genesis recently acquired a large treatment provider called 21st Century Oncology. And as they, like their model in Australia, continue to expand from radiation oncology to medical oncology, that opportunity here in the United States with that larger global private player is a tremendous opportunity for us here too, as well as several of the other Genesis locations around the world.
Yeah, so you see even more opportunities opening up there?
Yes, we do. Do
you have any good signs that it might actually happen?
We hope so, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, there have been a number of very good positive indications in some of those other markets where Genesis is a significant provider that we will expand the global opportunity set even further.
And we talked a lot about the opportunities, but I would also like to ask you, what are your biggest risks going forward? Every investor needs to know this.
Absolutely. Obviously, on a long-term basis, additional targeted therapies that reduce the requirement for chemo regimens that cause hair loss is out there. The Optiva, Keytruda, other targeted therapies that, again, are able to provide significant therapeutic benefit minus that side effect of hair loss will always be a long-term concern, not even concern. That's where science is going and needs to go. But in terms of actually really eating into our target market, it's going to be a very long time and a very minimal impact in the short term. Really the biggest risk on our side is execution risk. We've got a tremendous opportunity. The number of facilities that are becoming more interested in offering this therapy option goes up every week for us. So, our business model, especially here in the United States, which is we acquire the devices via our contract manufacturer, place it in a facility, and then usage of that device over time provides the return on that investment. The risk is really that execution risk, the attainment, the signing of the original agreements with the facilities, the attainment and placement of the device, and then the usage thereof. But again, as awareness continues to improve and increase, and then with the CPT codes, we really anticipate the amount of usage, which is still really heavily driven by breast cancer, to actually expand into some of those other key opportunity sets for us, which we really identify as uterine and ovarian cancers. Our demographic is 35 to 65-year-old female patients, and those malignancies are really the most common. So, again, we see a tremendous opportunity set ahead of us. We believe we have the risk very seriously managed at this time, and we look forward to really executing on the very aggressive business plan that we've established and communicated as well to the market.
Okay, sounds like a good plan. And with that, we'll leave that as your final word. So I will say thank you very much for presenting to us today, and good luck.
Tack så mycket. Ha det bra.